So today, as you can see, we have a bit of a different video. Unlike the previous ones I've uploaded on this channel, I'm actually going to talk for this one because this is more of a review type vid, which I hopefully plan on uploading more of soon. But anyways, for the focus of today's video, we're covering the brand new subway cars just introduced by LA Metro. For those who aren't aware, Los Angeles does in fact have a transit system with a few lines, including two heavy rail or rapid transit lines, the B and D lines, formerly known as the red and purple lines, because on the map, their colors appear as, well, red and purple. Although with that said, most locals just refer to these lines as simply the subway, as they're completely underground. And when it comes to their trains, these two lines of course also have their own separate fleet, which ever since their opening, consisted of these cars known as the Breda A650s. And while they have been an icon of the system for basically decades now, being in numerous movies, shows, and are honestly just quite nostalgic, they are also getting noticeably old. And as interesting as they are, these things can't last forever. And with Metro of course being well aware of this, they've been on the hunt for a replacement over the last few years, leading us to our newest trains, the HR4000s, which are manufactured by a company from China known as CRRC, who doesn't honestly have the best reputation, with Metro's own cars being delayed by years and having a couple issues. But in spite of all these troubles, a few set of cars have arrived and been tested across the system, with many eager to see them in regular service. And on December 20th of last year, we finally got our chance, because on this day, a set of the new trains were officially put into service for the very first time. And fortunately, yours truly was able to catch a ride on them. So let's get into that story. So beginning today's transit adventure, I began this journey at the North Hollywood station, the northern terminus of the B line. At this moment, I really had no idea where the new train was running, as I simply just heard it was running somewhere on the system, but just to be safe, I began up here and planned to make my way towards downtown. So I hopped on the subway train, which was just one of the older ones, and made my way down the line. At first, I really had no idea what to expect, but then I remembered that I actually did have a trick up my sleeve, which was pantograph. No, I didn't have a literal pantograph for a train part, but an app called Pantograph, which not only shows transit lines in select cities, but also shows every single vehicle running along with their model name. And with this, I quickly booted up the app, looked around the subway lines for any match, and sure enough, there was one single train labeled 4007, meaning that it was one of the new cars. At the time, it was on the D line, but also about to head into downtown too. So with this in mind, I created a plan to catch it on the way there, and take another train going in the opposite direction to meet it. So a couple stops later, I got off and transferred onto the D line, caught a train going west towards Wilshire Western, and just as we were leaving the second to last stop, I saw it just pull into the station, meaning that I basically missed it by a few seconds and pushed my luck just a little bit too far, which was just hilariously bad timing on my part. But I wasn't willing to give up just yet, because I had a plan B, which was to go to the end of the D line anyways, wait for the new train to come back, and then catch it to downtown. So I got off at Wilshire Western and waited for a bit. And here, I met a really nice janitor lady who kindly directed me towards one of the old trains about to leave. But after I told her I was waiting for the new one, she then informed me that they weren't running anymore, which admittedly I was a little skeptical about, as I literally just saw it doing exactly that. But after some thinking, I eventually thought that maybe she was right and that I'd have to just come back another day. So I basically gave up, got on the old train, and just as we were a couple stops in, I saw the new train again, which was indeed running, now in the opposite direction. Although thankfully this time, I actually had time to get off and actually catch it, taking it back to Wilshire Western, where I, funny enough, passed right next to the janitor from before. We instantly recognized each other and had a laugh, which honestly was a pretty funny moment, and after all of that, I finally was able to take the train back to Union Station, getting some time to really experience it, and end my day off on success. So with all of that said, I had quite the adventure trying to just see this new train. But to answer the big question, and after all that work, were they really worth it? And you know, despite all of the initial problems they had, I have to say that I had a really good experience with them. Right off the bat, everything feels very clean and organized, although keep in mind they are still brand new after all, and it definitely feels a lot more spacious and open, because when they were first announced, I was a bit worried about the new seating arrangement, as the new trains have most of their seats now against the walls facing each other, instead of facing forwards or backwards like the old ones, which makes it a lot harder to see outside. But with all that said, to be fair, being underground there's really not much to see anyways, especially as the new windows are now noticeably more tinted, and even then, there are still a few seats facing forwards or backwards at the end of each car, so there's that I guess. And honestly, after getting used to it, I think this change is actually a good one, because along with the new gangways allowing you to walk in between cars, it really makes them feel way more open. And with the seats almost all being together now, it makes it a lot less awkward sitting next to someone. And with the subway lines evolving to be a more urban style system, as opposed to a widespread BART-like one as originally planned, I think the new design is very appropriate for this purpose. And regarding the technology on the train, there's of course a lot of new stuff too, such as the screens inside the train showing announcements, the line maps now lighting up, showing which stops the train is going to next, which I honestly forgot to film but are now located above some of the doors, and nearby, also additional screens showing the upcoming stops as well, although at the time I was filming, these hadn't yet been turned on or programmed. And to add on to that, there's also now even a handful of USB charging ports, which admittedly I'm kinda worried won't last, as from experience these types of ports tend to get broken or damaged, but hopefully I'll be proven wrong. And of course, even the ride itself is decent too, as the trains are noticeably smoother and a bit more quiet. And also, I'll even admit that the design overall is kinda growing on me too, as the so-called sports car headlights are admittedly a strange design choice, but they do kind of emphasize how modern these are compared to the old ones. And the whole flat stainless steel look does admittedly have a pretty nice appearance, and will also hopefully be easier to clean too. But with that said, even if you do still prefer the old Breda A650 cars, I can thankfully say that they're not gonna get instantly scrapped, because with the new cars being slowly rolled out, it'll be a while before the old ones are completely gone. And in fact, a decent amount of them have actually been completely redone, making them feel just a bit more modern. And recently, there's even been a picture circulating online showing an old car being completely repainted to match the look of the new ones, which, while this might be an unpopular opinion, I think actually looks pretty clean. But regardless of how you think of the new look, the fact that they're even doing this at all means that Metro is probably expecting them to stick around for at least another few years, if not longer. However, going back to the new cars though, for those who are interested in riding them, as I'm sure most of you are, it still requires some pretty good luck and timing, because with these cars still being pretty new, it seems like there's only one set running on any given day, and even then, this isn't always the case. So for anyone looking to ride these, I would highly recommend using the Panagraph app to actually see if a unit is running. But with all of that said, I'm personally really hyped to see more of these come out soon, as it's something the system can really use, because overall, the metro and especially the subway have gotten a pretty negative reputation amongst the general public for being somewhat old and dirty. But with stuff such as these new cars, and an emphasis on better cleaning, this impression could hopefully begin to change. And on top of that, it's also just great seeing lots of people, even those outside the transit community, actually excited to see these new trains, as it really shows that these types of things do have an impact, and will hopefully make the system much more welcoming to new users. But with all of that said, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about the new cars. Were they worth the years-long wait, or do you still prefer the old ones? Let me know down in the comments below, and until the next video, I'll be signing off. Goodbye everyone.